संता के कारज आप खलोया, हर कम करावण आया।
He is revered today by the Sangat in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and in many other countries. But who was he and what made him so great? If one analyzes his persona, it boils down to very simple facts. He was an epitome of Sikhism. He lived by three pillars of Sikhism, that is, Kirtakamai, Vandikeshwakana, and Naam Japana. He was devoid of 5 cardinal sins: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar. He lived his life according to the teachings in Sri Guru Granth Sahib, and by so doing, he became blessed during life and for eternity.
I was very fortunate to actually have stayed with Sant Baba Sohan Singh Ji Maharaj. Babaji had a certain spiritual magnetism, if I can call it that, which was very profound. It's the kind of spiritual magnetism one could feel if one is close to Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Sometimes when you are close to Sri Guru Granth Sahib, you can feel certain vibrations from Guruji. That is the kind of magnetism that Sant Baba Sohan Singh Ji Maharaj had.
Let's analyze each trait. Kirtakamai. He worked as a priest and performed all the duties of a Granthi. He even maintained the cleanliness of the Gurdwara. It was a common sight to see him sweeping the Darbar Sahib, the corridor, and the area surrounding the Darbar Sahib in the evenings and later also in the mornings.
I used to come with Sant Ji. I come balapate. Sometimes when I come to his room, he will be sitting down with closed eyes and on the bed. His room is outside the Langar hall there. Then I will tell, why Guruji ka Khalsa, why Pate? No answer. I just go and sit. I open my pothi, then the answer come. Why Guruji ka Khalsa, why Pate? You see, he was in deep meditation. Then I start reading. He will do his meditation, I will start reading. I read loud. Then sometimes he gets up and then he asks the whoever pai around to help him to walk around. He walks around, then he will, sometimes I'm reading wrongly as well. There's no one to correct me. But I carry on reading, then he come back. And he will say, that line, read again. And he will correct me.
ਅਤੇ ਮਾਨਯੋਗ ਸੱਜਣੋ, ਇਹ ਸ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਹਨ, ਜੈਸਾ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਆਪ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਣ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹੋ। ਭਗਤ ਧਰੂ ਆਦਿਕਾਂ ਦੀ, ਭਗਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੈਜ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਆਇਆ, ਨਾਮਦੇਵ ਆਦਿਕਾਂ ਦੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਨੇੜ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਮਜ਼ਹਬ ਦਾ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉੱਥੇ ਯਾਨੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਮਜ਼ਹਬ ਉਹਦੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਹਨ। ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਮਨ ਨੇੜੇ ਹੈ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ, ਉਹ ਆਪ ਨੇੜੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਮਨ ਹੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਦੂਰ ਹੋਵੇ, ਯਾਨੀ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਖਿਆਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਮੌਕੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਰਸਤੇ ਆਪ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਸੱਜਣ ਇਸ ਸ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੰਗ ਆ ਕੇ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਦੁੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਭਗਤ ਕਬੀਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਕਥਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਕੀ ਬਾੜੀ ਹੈ ਰੇ ਤਿਨ ਹਰ ਪੂਰੇ ਕਰੀਆ। ਇਹ ਭਾਈ ਇਹ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਦੀ ਬਾੜੀ ਲਾਈ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਇਹ ਬਣਾਈ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਰਸਤੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੂਪ ਦੀ ਖੋਜ ਕਰੀਏ।
He taught us Bani and travelled to spread the teachings in Sri Guru Granth Sahib all over Malaysia. Never accepted Shabd Peta. Whenever money was put before him, he will always collect it, place it in front of Sri Guru Granth Sahib wherever he was, and matha take. He worked for his salary and lived on it.
He had this charisma where people used to come out of the woodwork to listen to him. And I remember on the journey, we also took in, we did some Anandakaraj ceremonies as well. And those days, believe you me, Anandakaraj ceremonies were far different from today. Today it's become one of the rituals as part of a Sikh wedding. Those days, the Anandakaraj was the most important ceremony. It was sacred, it was religious, it was spiritual. And that is the way the focus used to be on the Anandakaraj. And Babaji used to do the Vyakhya and the Sikhya. And Babaji used to do the Kirtan, and I used to be either on the tabla or the vaja. I remember when I was about 15 and a half, almost 16 years old, when Bapuji decided that I should partake of Amrit. And I was trying my hardest to get away from it. And he said, all right, I'll take you to Sant Sant Singh Ji Maharaj, have a chat with him. And if after that you do not want to take Amrit, then that's your right. And of course, goes without saying that Babaji convinced me. And those days, Amrit was a passage into adulthood, responsible adulthood. And you could not have the Anandakaraj ceremony unless you had partaken of Amrit. Those were the stipulations in those days. And the thing about humility was, I remember after the discussion, he patted me on the back and he said, Kaka, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਤੇਰੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੈ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਇਤਨੀ ਉਚੇਚੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਜਨਮ ਹੋਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਪਵੇਗਾ ਉਸ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਲਈ. Now translated into English, that means that he blessed me because I had already been blessed with the blessing of being able to do kirtan with my father from a very young age. And he said, that blessing is so high that he who could not do kirtan will probably have to take one more birth to actually ask for that gift of doing kirtan.
They opened the Vidyala. For 6 years I was there with Babu Sant Singh. I used to do kirtan, Kirtan I didn't learn from anyone. My father has got a vaja at home, and every day I used to play whatever. So I told my father, you teach me one sabda. So what my father taught me, Kavana Sanjoga Melo Prabha Apane. Then it happens that then I went for the first Milan in Port Dickson. Then I saw all the girls doing very good kirtan. I told them, can you teach me? Then I came back from this Milan, 6 sabda I learned. I came home, I told my father, I have learned 6 sabda. My father said, play. I played, my father was so happy. Then told Sant Ji. Sant Ji, when I came for class, Sant Ji said, you do your kirtan every day. And every day he wants to listen. Never fail. Every Sunday, Sant Ji will sit down in the room and you say, Biba. Then automatically I can do Asadiva also. You see, it is his blessing. I can do Asadiva, the whole Asadiva I will do. So, and I have got a very, very loud voice. So I will do Asadiva, I will do Kirtan, any Kirtan I hear I can kadda. And it is not me, no? Remember that it's not me, it is he that's there.
Vandike Shakana. He used his salary to help the needy, irrespective of race or religion. He had sound knowledge of traditional medicine. He shared this by treating those who sought his help at no cost, and many benefited from his healing.
ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਤੇ ਪਨਾਂਗ ਉਤਰੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਭਾਈ ਹੈਗੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਲਵਾਰ ਪਾਈ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਵੱਡਾ ਲੀੜਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚਾਦਰਾ ਬੰਨਦਾ ਸੀ. ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੜ ਗਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਲੋਕੀ ਸਾਦੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣਾਉਂਦਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣਾਉਂਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਜੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਭਾਈ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜੱਗ ਤੋਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਬਾਬਾ ਮੱਖਣ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਆਨੰਦ ਤੋਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਬੇਬੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਕੌਰ ਹੈਗੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੇਬੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਕੌਰ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ, ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਆਦਮੀ ਪਾਠੀ ਸੀ, ਗ੍ਰੰਥੀ ਸੀ। ਅੱਛਾ, ਉਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ। ਜਦੋਂ ਆ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 2 ਮੰਜੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਇੱਕ ਮੰਜਾ ਬਾਹਰ, ਇੱਕ ਅੰਦਰ ਵਿਹਲੇ 'ਚ। ਆਂਦੇ ਆ ਬੂਆ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਹੁਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਾਈ ਜੱਗ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੇਂਹਦਾ, 3 ਜਣੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੇਂਹਦੇ, ਪੱਖੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ। ਆਂਦੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਤੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਆਹ ਮੰਜਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਅੰਦਰ, ਇਹ ਮੰਜਾ ਬਾਹਰ। ਜਦੋਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣ ਨੂੰ, ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਵਾਲਾ, ਮਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ। ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਇੱਥੇ। ਸਿੰਗਾਪੁਰ ਆਂਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਸਿੰਗਾਪੁਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਰੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਥਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹ ਆਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਫੜੀ ਸੀ, ਮਲਾਕੇ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਫੜੀ। ਭਾਈ ਜੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਰਾਤ ਦਿਨ ਕੋਲ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ, ਬਾਬਾ ਜੱਗ ਤੋਂ ਰਾਤ ਦਿਨ, ਬਾਬਾ ਮੱਖਣ ਤੋਂ। ਲੋਕੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੱਕਾ ਚੱਲਦੇ, ਆਪਦੇ ਘਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ। ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੋ ਜੇ, ਇਤਨਾ ਉਤਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਲੋਕੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ। ਸਿੰਗਾਪੁਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਾਈ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ।
Naam Japna. He had no free time. When he was not performing his duties as a priest, he was always immersed in Bani, whether he was sitting on his manja, pacing up and down, or sitting in the Darbar Sahib. Once he is reciting his Bani or immersed or meditating, he would be unaware of his surroundings. So powerful was his connection with Bani, sometimes people had to wait for long periods for a chance to greet him until he became aware that there were people around him.
Babaji used to organize Granthi Smilans in Malacca in the mid-60s. And there was a police officer, Sant Singh Ji, who used to help organize those great programs. And up to 100 Granthis used to turn out from Malaysia and Singapore. And believe you me, the Granthis of that era, I personally call my childhood the golden era of Sikhism in Malaysia, because we were very, very privileged. And I have great friends like Chote Veer Sukhinder Pal Singh from Penang, who will vouch for that. Bade Veer Hari Singh from Auckland, he has also come through that period. And there are many others who have now passed on. But that golden era was led by Sant Baba Sohan Singh. There were other great luminaries. There was Gyani Harnam Singh Ballab from Penang that I remember. There was Gyani Gamdur Singh Ji from Tampin, who was very, very close to Sant Baba Sohan Singh Ji Maharaj. There was a traveling missionary by the name of Gyani Phuman Singh. His talks were legendary. And there were many others. Gyani Vichittar Singh Ji from Tat Khalsa, Gyani Inder Singh, son of our Harvinder Singh, a former Jathedar of Naujawan Sabha, and many, many others. But these were all Brahm Gyanis who used to be the heart and soul of every Sangat in Malaysia. And Sant Baba Sohan Singh was in the midst of all that. He was the catalyst which set up the Sikh Naujawan Sabha Malaysia. And I had the privilege of attending the first 2 Smilans, where Babaji used to be present with us and talking to us, and also the Granthi Smilans, where he was the heart and soul of it. And those days, the Granthis used to get together to actually pass resolutions so that they could take those resolutions back to their gurdwaras. For example, when should the karpan be put through the deg? At what stage should that be done? That sort of small things which were standardized throughout Malaysia. But as long as the memory of Sant Baba Sohan Singh remains, and I know a lot of you do not like the word Varsi, for example. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is a Varsi. It is a remembrance of that great man. Call it whatever you like. Virtually on the third weekend of May, all Sikhs who are brought up and born in Malaysia always remember Sant Sohan Singh, and it is like a pilgrimage to be able to go to Malacca, to be able to celebrate it.
He was devoid of 5 cardinal sins. Calm, that's lust. He addressed every young girl as Biba and adult women as Bibi. Showed utmost respect to all. Never married. Krodh, never seen him angry or upset. Never admonished anybody. Lobh, greed. He had opportunities and temptations but never succumbed to them. Never accepted Shabd Pita, whether in Malacca or when traveling. Every time, whatever money was placed in front of him, he always donated to the respective Gurdwara from where he received the Shabd Pita. He would always matha take with the money in front of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Never participated in any scheme to accumulate wealth. In Malacca, the people there used to run a tontine, or what is called in Punjabi koot, right next to the place where his manja was, and he never participated in any one of them. He never looked for higher paying posts elsewhere as a priest. In fact, he had no bank account. More attachment. He had no attachment to materials. His worldly possessions were cotton robe, wooden sandals, a simple wristwatch which he used throughout his life, and an umbrella. In fact, there is an interesting story behind the umbrella. It is said that once he was walking with others in the rain, and while others were soaked in the rain, he was dry. His clothes were completely dry. He didn't want people to know that he was blessed with some special characteristics. So he started carrying an umbrella with him at all times, whether or not there was rain.
ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਮੰਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਦੇਥੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਮੰਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਾਬੂਆਂ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਿੱਠੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਹ ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਖਾਣ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਰੀਬ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨਾ ਮਸਕੀਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਥਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਏ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ 10 ਜਾਣੇ 12 ਜਾਣੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਆਓ ਸੱਦ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੇਂਦੇ ਘਰੋਂ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਿਲਫੇ 'ਚ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਂਦਾ ਖਾਣਾ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਉਹ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਖਾਣਾ ਖਿੱਦੇ ਖਾਣਾ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੁੜਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਕ ਦਾ ਲਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਜਾਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਪੈਰੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ
Then when Sant Ji finished already, I was with Sant Ji for roughly about 10, 12 years. Then Sant Ji became very ill, was admitted in hospital. Then Sant Ji passed away. It was a great loss. A great loss to us.
Hankar, he maintained a low profile, was always humble. He always sought Vaheguruji's guidance at the beginning of each lecture. His Shabad always was and always began his lectures with Dandut Bandhan Anek Bar Sarab Kala Samrat Tolan Te Rakho Prabhu Nanak De Kar Haath. When translated, it simply means, I bow down and fall to the ground in humble adoration countless times to the all-powerful Lord who possesses all powers. Please protect me and save me from wandering, God. Reach out and give Nanak your hand. He had no selfishness. He was gracious. He had that much of respect for Bani and unselfishness in sharing with others. He ate food from the langar just like anybody else. There were times when people used to invite him to their homes for what we call roti karni. That means for a meal. He would oblige everybody who invited. He would take a trishaw to go to the house. He was so humble and so like others that when the committee constructed a concrete platform in front of the Gurudwara, in front of Darbar Sahib for him to sit on it and meditate, he never used it because he didn't want to appear different from others and he didn't want to be treated different from others. He had silent ways of inculcating positive values in people, never imposed on people any values but made them aware of the values by being an example. What we learned from him was that you get everything from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Sangat Ardas is supreme. Practice simplicity in life. Be contented with what you have achieved. Achieve satisfaction through sharing your blessings. Have attachment with Bani regularly and you will be blessed. He was Babaji to us. Only after he had left this world, people realized such a human being had lived amongst them through this era, that he became to be known as Sant Sohan Singh Ji. So why was he different? Very simply put, no other human being in our memory ever possessed these traits. He was indeed an extraordinary human being who lived like an ordinary person. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.